hello. I'm Sequoia, and I wanted to make this video talking about this piece I just drew. This is not live, not a live commentary, I guess. There was some decent banter in the VOD, I think, when I drew this on stream, but I've learned that editing down VODs takes absolutely ages, and it's not worth it, really. Unfortunate, because I really would have liked to make another version of that draw with me video, but I'm gonna try something else, I guess, you know? Haven't really put that much onto my YouTube. But yeah. This piece was done in one session-ish on stream. I did some extra edits the day after I had posted it already. Go figure. But yeah, it was completed in around 5 hours, which isn't something I'd recommend. But on that topic, I don't know. I've seen people talk about this, about how they want to know how to draw quickly, and I think most of the time, people rightfully don't really recommend chasing drawing fast as like a noteworthy goal. I think it's something people generally think is something you develop as you improve as an artist, and I think I usually agree. But I do know that drawing fast can be a desirable trait, and I think I draw pretty quickly. You know, I don't think I'm the fastest artist alive or anything, but I think I draw and I can get things down pretty handily, you know? So maybe I want to talk about some things that may help me draw faster, I guess. Here you can see me roughing out the pose with a sketch. You can see that I sketch pretty cleanly. This is something that comes with practice as well, but I have my own shorthand for a lot of things. Shorthand for hands, shorthands for feet, legs, every part of the body really. And I prefer to sketch thinly and cleanly as possible, really, because it gives me less information to deal with, which is kind of backwards if you really think about it. Because you want more information to work with when you get into line art. But reducing the amount of information I have to process when I'm in the middle of drawing really helps me personally when it comes to just getting things done quickly. Which, if that's not your goal, you know, take your time, make multiple layers. But oftentimes when I'm on stream and I'm drawing something for a client, or I'm doing like a request or a redeem on Twitch, I'll often just limit myself to a couple of layers, at least probably max 2 per character for the sketch, and then do 2 layers for the character line art. So here you can see me roughing out the second character in the scene, and you can also see that I've taken the other character out of the scene too, just to sketch out some of the details, because like I said, a lot of my process and what helps me draw quicker and draw anything at all really is about managing information, you know? You can see that I draw very thin, pretty thin. It's not the thinnest, obviously, but I also like to use a soft eraser to brush away my lines after I'm done, just to get more clarity, you know? Here, I've moved on to line art. Kind of nice, you know, to do line art this way. I think it's nice to have less information to work with often. I think it's a pretty common complaint you see where people say that their sketch looks better than their lines, and yeah, I get it. It's a pretty well-known phenomenon, but I often avoid it just by, well, trying to avoid the label of line art and trying to avoid perfection, I guess, really. I often, in my mind, I often treat this process, what I'm doing on the screen right now, and the sketch as just 2 steps of the same process. Sketch 1, sketch 2, you know? It's kind of a similar idea. And there's information on the first sketch that lets me do this, don't get me wrong. For example, I did rough out the hair for both characters, but oftentimes if I can get away with it, I'll just do just the body shape and then just straight on draw the clothes over top of it. This obviously helps me with my speed, but I think it helps you, and helps, well, not you specifically maybe, but it helps me in particular kind of break away from my sketch and lets me be a little more freeing. And I think that's the key when it comes to drawing nice line art, and, well, just having nice lines in general, I think. I think being free and being able to, like, just let the rhythm take control and improvise a little bit, you know? Get a little funky with it. Yeah. I think in particular, when drawing clothing, it has to come across everything, and it's a little weird sometimes to have to, like, draw things straight on without a sketch, but doing so lets you explore certain ideas. For example, see here, you can actually see me adjust the position of the hand so that instead of having the hand resting on the couch, it's resting on Evelyn's hand. Oh, Yuri. But, yeah. I think it's fun, it's interesting. I think often thinking of as line art as a second sketch rather than just line art and making it be perfect helps you break away from a lot of these ideas. Obviously, what I'm doing here isn't easy. I've been doing this for a decent amount of time. I've done a lot of sketch requests, and I do a lot of drawings in 1 or 2 sessions on stream pretty often at this point. So it comes with practice, but it's something that you kind of build towards, you know? And there's no real harm in trying, because especially if your second sketch doesn't look as clean as you want it, you could do a third sketch, you know? There's nothing really stopping you. At this stage of the process, I like to add some black shadows and really fill in some black, like, aspects of it under sleeves, in sleeves, on the bits of hair that are, like, in the background of the character next to the face. Often like to fill it in with pure black too. It's a quality that, you know, I take from comics and manga in particular, but I enjoy it. I think it's one of my favorite ways to, you know, finish a drawing. Oftentimes you hear people say you probably shouldn't use pure black in drawings or coloring, and that's, you know, I agree with that. Probably shouldn't unless you know what you're doing, but hey, I don't know. I think it can work if you really know what to try. You know, if you're emulating a certain style. Here you can see these 2 fonts are called Butler. They're both Butler. They're just different versions of the same font. But you can see here I'm doing some faux graphic design with the A here, trying to make it spruce it up. I hope it looks nice. It was a bit of an ordeal to get this going in CSP. Clip Studio doesn't have the strongest vector tools, really, but I think I got something that was plenty appealing. And when I added these fonts, I sort of landed on my final direction for this drawing. I hadn't really decided exactly where I was going to take the aesthetic of the finished piece here until at this point, but I thought mainly about fashion covers and sort of punchy, sort of graphic looks that Zenless Zone Zero actually is pretty known for, frankly. So I thought I'd try and emulate that. I tried to bring sort of tones you might see from the Cinema Mindscape arts and ideas that you take from manga and combine it into a sort of fashion cover or maybe just a postcard kind of design. I think it's cropped in a way that doesn't really suit a magazine cover or anything else except maybe something. And maybe a business card, maybe. It's probably too close to the borders for that, actually, but yeah. I decided to go with some tones here. All the textures you can see on screen are taken from Texture Lab. It's a website. I do this because instead of using like the built-in CSP halftones and stuff, because if you take a proper halftone and have like an image of it where it's like imperfect and there's like sort of messed up a little bit, then you avoid the moire effect, which is an effect that happens when you zoom in and out on these kinds of things. You can see here, I'm just putting in some final details. I messed around with this idea, with this sort of half-lit room background idea. I also toyed with a drop shadow, and I also tried to do this weird thing with my watermark at the end. Didn't really work. Kind of scrapped there, just put my watermark and cropped out the right half of the screen here at the end. But it was a fun idea to try. And at the very end, I also, you know, pitch shifted. I kind of just sort of hue shifted everything closer to red. I think this helps just, you know, tie the whole thing together, honestly. that's the final piece. I hope you like it. Yeah, I don't recommend really drawing for 5 hours straight. It's not particularly healthy. But I think if you manage your perceptions, manage your resources, and try to change the way you think about your process, you might come out with something nice. Yeah, that's all I got. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it. Take care, and good night.